Hello my friends, my name is Socratetris and welcome to the first episode of Philos-Gaming, where we talk about the influence of philosophy in games and the unique way games make us challenge and engage in the questions of our time. Today we're going to talk about the Singularity. To give a basic summary, the Singularity is the point when a robotic, artificial intelligence is created that is so advanced it can learn and grow in a way that is indistinguishable from humanity, or it is at least indistinguishable by humans without assistance by some other device or by a non-human or uncanny appearance. At least for this video, we will call it either the Singularity or artificial self-consciousness. The term the Singularity was first used by Stanislaw Ulam in a conversation with mathematician John von Neumann. Ulam spoke of, quote, an ever-accelerating progress of technology and changes in the mode of human life, which gives the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race, beyond which human affairs as we know them could not continue. This wasn't on its own referring to artificial intelligence, but simply a radical alteration to human society as a whole. Now the term refers to true artificial self-consciousness, and we have reached the point where it is generally accepted that we will inevitably hit that point, and it will happen relatively soon, perhaps even within our lifetimes. The United States typically displays humanity reaching this point as a sort of catalyst of the apocalypse, as seen in movies like The Matrix, I, Robot, Terminator, etc., but also in a more positive or iffy light with movies like Spike Jonze's 2013 Her. Japan, on almost the completely separate end, displays the Singularity as a very positive thing. From tropey robot characters in dating sim games, treated just like another kind of human, like Mahoromatic or Chobits, to movies like Time of Eve, and video games like Mega Man, that have storylines that actively address the distance, or lack thereof, between humanity and artificial self-consciousness. The growing popularity of this topic has sparked a new revival in the field of human nature philosophy. What is a human? How is humanity different from an ape or a dog, in a way that we can concretely pin down and recognize? Or, beyond the question of humanity, what is a person? And when do we know something is a person? Let's start at the beginning. What is a human? First off, the question of what is a human is a pretty strange one on its own. We all have a vague understanding of what a human is. After all, we have all met at least a few humans, and to a certain degree of reliability, we can be sure that we, ourselves, are humans. But defining it has been an almost impossible task. We know we are some sort of animal, similar in kind to the other animals we call mammals and primates, and we have surprisingly little hair compared to other mammals, and surprisingly a lot of hair compared to the hairless species of mammals. We also recognize that certain kinds of actions or beliefs can either be in accordance with or counter to humanity, which we describe as either humane or inhumane. So philosophers have found it a lot easier to answer this question by answering how we differ from other animals. Most arrive at a similar conclusion. Something about our minds distinguishes us from the rest of life on this planet, touched on by philosophers like Aristotle to Descartes and many more. As a base, we'll turn to Cicero. Cicero, a famous member of the Stoic family of philosophy, established a system of ethics that basically goes, a thing should act in accordance with the sort of thing that it is, in accordance with its nature. So, it is the sort of ultimate, just be yourself advice taken to its logical extreme. A logical extreme is a term not used to mean that something is taken too far or is too radical, but rather means taking a value or an idea as it has been expressed and using the idea's own prescriptions in order to reach the logical conclusion or logical end of that idea. So how did Cicero define what sort of natures there are? He made three general categories. Well, there are plants that live and grow wholly deterministically. If the sunlight shines on my office plant from this direction, then it grows towards the source. It doesn't make any decisions to do this, it just does. The plant has no thoughts, no other options. It just exists according to the complex math that acts upon it. Microorganisms like bacteria and viruses also fall into this category. There are also animals. Animals are different from plants because they have intelligence. They have options such as fight or flight responses. Some have amazing problem-solving skills. Some can learn words or simple communication. Some make basic tools. The unexpected heights of animal intelligence is really quite fascinating, but we generally consider animals, unlike humans, to be blameless things, and rightfully so. Unlike humans, animal intelligence doesn't weigh options, evaluate reasons, and then choose the best course of action or have concern for morality. Animals, for all of the complex intelligence they can possess, that intelligence is just responding to sensations. They are basically semi-determined things. There is complexity, there is thought, but animals don't direct themselves. They are directed by their instincts. That brings us to human animals. First of all, human animals are, to a certain extent, determined like plants. For example, we don't choose to be born or age, and we also act on instinct and sensation. We get irritable when hungry, we smile when we're having fun, and spasm in fear when we see Slender Man standing in the background of Runner 2. But we have something else that the rest don't. That thing, according to Cicero, is called will. We are rational and free things. Many schools of philosophy, using different terms and defining it in different ways, essentially point to this as the factor that distinguishes humanity. This means we use our intelligence to weigh options, determine what is best, and choose to do so. But we also are free to choose whatever we wish, free to act counter to rationality. We can choose to act counter to our wants, to desire to do the opposite of what our sensational experience is telling us to do. If we get an urge to yell at or hit something, we can choose not to because we recognize those actions are disrespectful and violating the rights of the other person. If we feel the urge to laugh at something, but we're in an inappropriate setting, we can tell that laugh to do a barrel roll right out of our heads. Put simply, rational and free means we have 1. An intelligence that is used to direct us toward the good through logic, emotion, sensation, etc. And 2, we may fully direct ourselves on our own steam, embracing a full power of creation and innovation, good or bad. The game Skyrim very directly references Cicero's philosophy with its Dark Brotherhood story arc. Everyone's favorite mad, murderous clown, Cicero, is exactly the opposite of humanity in his nature. This guy is 100% grade A, bat guano, crazy. I mean, just listen to the kinds of things this guy says.
Cicero can talk for a moment. Just a moment. Then Mother must be tended to. Dear Cicero will keep you from harm, sweet Mother, forever and always.
He is entirely irrational, and a complete slave to the will of the Night Mother, without getting into Aristotle's distinction between slaves by nature versus slaves by convention. Skyrim's Cicero was an uncanny embodiment of an irrational and slavish thing, with a jester's hat filled with murder. It's no wonder no one shed a tear when our beloved Dovahkiin betrayed the will of Sithis and killed him with a mouthful of Thu'um. Cicero was a human, but one who lacked the capacity to recognize the humanity or personhood in others. As such, unlike the rest of the Dark Brotherhood assassins who honored other people, in one way or another, we formed no attachments to Cicero, and thus we players didn't really see him as a person either. Addressing artificial self-consciousness directly, Mass Effect introduced us to the Geth, a sort of race of self-conscious software that exists in a crazy combination of individuality and hive-mindedness. And one of our most interesting and comical crewmates, Edie, is a similar self-conscious AI who describes the Geth as 1,000 voices talking at once. While the game presented these robots as being rational and free, the race ended up not wanting to be recognized as human, but rather had a certain degree of pride as their own unique kind of being. These considerations give a unique framework for understanding questions of human-robot relationships. What sort of nature does an artificial self-consciousness have in comparison to the kinds that are naturally occurring? What sort of nature can we as humans program? Is it deterministic like a plant, semi-determined like an animal, or truly rational and free like us humans? And if so, is it then in fact not truly distinguishable from humanity? Then the question becomes, what rights does artificial self-consciousness share with humans? Or does this become a question that changes the face of animal rights discussions? To give my 2 cents worth, while I believe we can program rationality, I find that programming freedom might be in the realm of actual impossibility. While we can create rationality through complex algorithms, the fact that we must follow the coding of the algorithm means it is a determined existence. Put 100 humans through the exact same conditions at birth, and you will get 100 different outcomes, with some identifiable and general trends emerging. But 100 AIs with the same original programming and data, and you will get exactly one outcome 100 times, given that there are no malfunctions, errors, or data corruptions, which will most likely just result in a broken artificial intelligence. Even if we develop one that writes its own new algorithms, it will still only be responding to stimuli by feeding data into an equation, and the resulting new algorithm will be what necessarily results from that data, making it a sort of instinct. From my perspective, it would be a sort of non-living, semi-determined animal, or perhaps it would even be, by definition, classified as living, but still a semi-determined animal different in kind from humans. The most advanced, amazingly complex, incredibly intelligent, non-human animal in all of creation. To get a feel for what that may be like, you might want to pick up a copy of the game Dragon's Dogma: A Dark Arisen. NPCs called pawns are essentially this, visually identical to the humans in the game, extremely helpful and intelligent, but as the game describes them, lacking in all will of their own. But that's just my take on it. There are, of course, many possibilities out there when the singularity happens. But, of course, we can't just stop here. In the comments below, let's discuss how we, as human things, might act towards the singularities. Do we treat them like any other tool? Or are they more like pet puppies? Or perhaps we should treat them exactly the same as other humans, maybe because they are similar enough to afford most, if not all, human rights. Thanks for watching all the way through the first episode. If you enjoyed the show, consider supporting by hitting that like and subscribe button down below. Feel free to share your thoughts in the box below on any topic, and if there's any game or topic you'd like to see featured in a future episode, let me know. And I look forward to you joining us for the next discussion.